So the story of Pomi and Gobba is based on a traditional Wiradjuri Dreamtime story, Pomi Galana and Gobba Gumbalin. And I remember thinking when I first learnt of this story how closely it correlated with the Romeo-Juliet typical love story that one day I wanted to make ballet out of it. Along with considering how I could make it into a ballet, I've had to think about how can I make it relevant to audiences of today. So my version of this story is about two non-binary frogs, Pomi and Gobba, who live on opposite sides of the riverbed. And one day they happen to meet and strike up a friendship, and they discover that they have, this thing in common about not exactly feeling as though they fit in with the typical mold that has been prescribed to them by their families. So for the first time, Pomi and Gobba feel as though they're comfortable in their own skin. And the elders of the frog families on either side of the river warn Pomi and Gobba that a storm is coming. And of course, the two frogs, they don't listen because they're just enjoying being in each other's company, that they get washed away by the storm down the river, far away from their homes. And then the challenge from here is how they manage to find their way back home, back up to their families. So it's really a story about resilience and friendship as well, because the two frogs help each other to make their way back home. I have two Wiradjuri elders who are consulting with me on this project, Uncle Lloyd Dolan and Auntie Lorraine Tai. And the two of them have been able to provide me with multiple layers and different understandings of this story so that I can incorporate it into this new contemporary adaptation.
The story that Ella's wrote, when she first wrote it, she sent it for me to have a look at before she even went to Melbourne, which I thought was fantastic. So it really has been interesting to see a story, Pomi Galana and Gobba Gumbalin, that Ella has turned into a contemporary piece has been absolutely brilliant for me.
So quite an interesting process again, and it's always interesting to see how stories and things get interpreted over time, over experience as well. But I think it also goes back to the idea behind our stories, because often they can be seen as children's stories, but it's the same story that you see throughout your life as you grow and your experiences of the world grow. The meanings and what you get out of the stories actually evolves with you.
Then I started working with the dancers with a series of exercises that looked closely into the philosophy of Yinjamara, which is a Wiradjuri way of being, of knowing, of doing, and really unpicked these key aspects of what Yinjamara is to us. And from there, we developed some movement motifs that have eventually moved and developed and embedded themselves into the work. So it's been this lovely process of sharing knowledge and having that turn into movement to become embodied, so that can then be shared with the kids that get to see the work. So the story of Pomi and Gobba is designed to be performed in primary schools, secondary schools, all over Australia. And I just really hope that when they see this show, they get to put themselves into the story. So maybe they see themselves as Pomi, maybe they see themselves as Gobba, maybe both, or potentially they see themselves as the river. I really want it to be open for the audiences to perceive it in a way that means something to them.
Not only is it relevant for the students, but there's just so much rich background that has gone into it. The process and what we've learnt as a team to go into this piece with so many different voices. It's really exciting to be bringing that on the road and to allow the students to adopt what it means for them.
I want people to go away feeling a little bit more creative, a little bit more engaged, and feeling that they watch something that came from culture, and culture can be a part of them in whatever capacity they choose. But it's allowing these kids, or even adults as well, to feel like, yeah, you know what, it can be a part of me in some way as well. Doesn't mean I have to be First Nations, but culture can still be a part of you.